It's all led up to this, the moment where two cinema legends collide. Godzilla vs. Kong was in a weird spot, to say the least. It was the next MonsterVerse project following the, sadly, box office disappointment that was Godzilla King of the Monsters. Still upset about that movie underperforming thanks to Endgame having come out like right before it. I don't know why they thought releasing it then was a good idea. But not only that, but because of the fact that King of the Monsters underperformed and the fact that there were no future projects slated, it was believed to be the final project in the MonsterVerse. However, one of the most important factors when it came to when this movie came out was what was going on in the world at the time. Pandemic. But Legendary Pictures, being one of the few major studios in Hollywood having just absolute balls of steel, decided, we're going to release Godzilla vs. Kong even if it can't be completely in theaters. We're going to put it on HBO Max as well. So yeah, the movie was simultaneously released in what few theaters were open at the time, but also on HBO Max for an entire month, which I took very much advantage of. A lot was riding on Godzilla vs. Kong's success, but it's 2024 now. We've had not only 2 live-action MonsterVerse installments since then, a TV show and a new movie coming out Friday, but also a questionable as to whether it's canon or not animated show. Yeah, clearly this film was successful, and Adam Wingard is also already talking about a full trilogy of Godzilla Kong crossovers, and it's been leaked by KDM, which basically means it might as well be true, that Monarch Season 2 is going to be coming sometime next fall. That is one that I hope to be true because I am genuinely curious where Monarch's going to go after Season 1. So today, let's take a look back at Adam Wingard's Godzilla vs. Kong and see how his monster mashup fares a few years later. Welcome back to MonsterVerse Madness. Yeah, let's get to it. The film opens just 5 years after the end of Godzilla King of the Monsters, placing us in this year in the MonsterVerse. Nice. We see Kong doing his little morning routine, just doing Kong things on Skull Island. We see him scratch his monkey cheeks. One of the best scenes in the entire of Kong's cinema run, I would say. Not all is as it seems, however, as after having a brief little moment introducing Kong's best bud, Gia, Kong decides to chuck a tree into the sky. He loves his trees, man. Revealing that Kong is actually in containment on Skull Island. There's a big storm outside, and it looks completely different from the way it looked in 1973. We learned that part of the reasoning behind this is there can't be 2 Alpha Titans coexisting. If Godzilla senses Kong as he leaves his habitat, he coming for his neck, foreshadowing their inevitable clash. We're then introduced to another personal favorite character from the MonsterVerse for me, at least human characters, paranoid podcaster Bernie Hayes, as he talks about his plans to expose Apex Cybernetics right as he's about to walk through their front door. What a Chad. But after weirding this guy out, he hacks into one of the company computers, revealing that there's a schematic of some weird tech there that his hacking is then interrupted by a Titan alert. Godzilla rolls into Florida, tweaking out of his mind, absolutely pissed, constantly illuminated with the glow of his iconic heat ray as he spams it. Godzilla uses his atomic breath probably more in this movie than he does in the entire MonsterVerse, so get ready for that. One of these heat ray spams, however, takes out these 2 security guards that were about to lock up Bernie here, which I don't know how Bernie survived. The beam, the border of the beam is like right there. I figured it would still melt him alive though. Makes for a cool shot though. But after smiting those guys out of existence, Bernie is laying there in the rubble as he looks up to see not only Godzilla in the back continuously spamming his heat ray, but said piece of technology which he just saw a schematic for. The news covers Godzilla's attack, claiming that he is no longer humanity's Titan savior. Kind of fake. We're then introduced to Apex CEO Walter Simmons as he comes on screen, playing the classic way too nice tech billionaire part perfectly, calling out Godzilla specifically as he states that Apex has a plan to deal with the Titans. We jump to a Monarch relief camp in the area Godzilla just destroyed, Pensacola, Florida, as we see the man, the myth, the legend, Mark Russell, as he and his daughter Madison argue about whether Godzilla's attack was really his fault or not. Mark tells her that Titans are just like people, they can change on a dime. That Goji could have very well decided, you know what? These guys. Madison disagrees, but after the argument escalates to a certain point, she just kind of gives up. Maddie leaves as she heads home, having moved from the now completely flattened Boston since 2019. We cut to Denham University of Theoretical Science in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, as we meet the son of Dr. Ishiro Serizawa, who is now the chief tech officer at Apex Ren. He comes with Walter to meet Dr. Nathan Lind, Walt revealing that he has a little bit of a Hollow Earth obsession and has read Lind's book, who also has a Hollow Earth obsession. Ren pulls up a hologram of the Earth and its interior on the bullshit pad, showing Lind's theory, as well as Brooks and Randa's theory from the past few movies, concerning the inside of the Earth was true. Agartha's real! Real Hollow Earthers will understand that reference. Hollow Earth is revealed to be teeming with an untapped energy source, a power that will give humanity the ability to compete with the Alpha Titans. He asks Lind for help, as the Doctor reveals that he isn't with Monarch anymore and that he lost his brother due to an expedition to the Hollow Earth. Walt then introduces him to the Heave and how it makes Hollow Earth transportation possible. After that pitch, Lind reluctantly agrees to help, but only if he gets the assistance of his old colleague, Dr. Eileen Andrews. Not only that, though, but he also needs a Titan entering their natural habitat, aka entering through one of the portals. Lind and Andrews meet up again, having a brief little spat over whether it's a good idea to take Kong out of containment or not to go on this journey. Lind ultimately makes a really good point that this could be beneficial for both Kong and humanity, as Kong may or may not be able to find others of his species or allies down there, allowing humanity a little breathing room. And after looking up at the tree that Kong threw into the ceiling earlier, Andrews decides, you know what, yeah. Lind then kisses Andrews on the cheek, all excited. Bro, how you fumbled a bag like that, bro? Like, it weirded her out. How do you have this little game, bro? We then cut to Kong chained up on a huge hauler boat as he is taken across the ocean to Antarctica. Walt's daughter, the gorgeous Maya Simmons, finds herself aboard the boat, telling Lind about how just awesome the Heaves are. This admiral, who I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the name of, bro, informs Andrews that to their discretion they have avoided Godzilla's territorial waters, but then questions what happens if they meet anyways, considering both of them have ancient beef. He suggests that Kong may, bow to the superior king, but Andrews points out that Kong bows to no one, because he is that guy. We then get a wonderful sequence with Gia in the rain as she goes out onto the boat, and has her How to Train Your Dragon moment with Kong, letting Andrews know that Kong isn't feeling too well. He's pretty upset after she runs out to check on her. Naturally, Andrews is like, how does this little girl know that Kong is sad? And then Kong reveals he can do sign language. He understands it and can do it. Now, this weirded me out the first time watching it, but after, I'm being serious when I say this, 33 times watching this movie, after 33 times, I think it's a pretty cool addition. I've gotten used to it. It really does give Kong a better ability to emotionally connect with the audience. So, I'll take that. That's cool. I'll get to at the end how I watched this movie 33 times. It'll make sense, I promise. We cut back to Team Godzilla as Fire Fist from Deadpool 2 pulls up in a van. I mean, I know it's him and I've seen the movie an exorbitant amount of times, but still, it blows my mind that it's the same actor. I love Deadpool 2, so, the moment I realized he was in it, I was like, Josh, Fire Fist, has stolen his brother's van as him and Madison do some Stranger Things shenanigans. Fitting. Going off on their own to search for Bernie. We then get the most stupid joke in all 4 of these movies, and probably one of the stupidest jokes in the entire Godzilla franchise, but I mean, the context and at the time, and I'll just play the clip.
This isn't one of those internet challenge things, because when I saw those kids, those detergent pods, I didn't know they were gonna eat them.
I don't care what anyone says, man. The Tide Pod thing is still funny to this day. Gets a good giggle out of me every time I watch this movie. The Tide Pod joke guy then gives them Bernie's location and they arrive at his doorstep. He initially plays coy, hitting a little funny accent to disguise himself. Until Madison mentions her last name and her connection to Monarch, immediately opening the door just like, okay. In a restaurant, Team G discusses their theory as to why Godzilla is just tweaking out all of a sudden, thinking that Apex is at the heart of all this. Bernie reveals a very important plot device with a bottle of, how do you pronounce that? I'm pretty sure it's Katsunari. Yeah, Katsunari single malt whiskey, revealing that it was a gift from his deceased wife, saying the day that this bottle goes empty is the day that he is given up. Actually, a really emotional little moment here. Kong then snacks on some yummy fish in a really, I think it's unintentional, but a really nice reference to the TriStar Godzilla. Andrew discusses with Lind about Gia's bond with Kong, saying that her parents had died once this big huge storm enveloped the island, and Kong decided to protect her, as she is quite literally the last of the Iwi tribe that we saw in Kong Skull Island, even though, you know, she wasn't alive at that point. But you get what I'm saying. We then cut back to Gia as everything goes silent, the iconic legendary Godzilla roar being heard as she rests her hand against the ship walls. Everyone begins to panic as Kong tweaks out and the military shoots off missiles at the old G-ster. Godzilla then does something that I've always wanted to see him do. He slices his boat in half with his dorsal fins. After wreaking hell on the rest of the crew, he swims right at Kong, submerging deep where he can't see him before he emerges right underneath him, right in his face. This causes the boat that Kong is on to completely flip over, capsizing. And with that, this begins the first round, the first battle of the film, with just some, I would honest to God say almost Michael Bay Transformers level CGI here. Needless to say, Godzilla can swim, Kong can't, so, you know, Kong decides parkour and jumps across all these different ships as Godzilla destroys them one by one. Goji then climbs aboard this aircraft carrier in just the stupidest yet coolest scene in the entire MonsterVerse, as the two stand atop of this aircraft carrier exchanging licks on each other. We get the iconic punch heard around the world as Kong just punches the hell out of Godzilla in the face. It does not faze him, and then Godzilla just like slaps him and he falls over. Godzilla's amphibious ass almost kills Kong as he swims down into the depths, drowning him, until depth charges tickle him just a little too hard and he has to let Kong go. Kong emerges on the boat and the Monarch team decides, you know what? We should probably play dead so Godzilla doesn't continue to attack us. Godzilla and Kong then exchange looks. He clearly is not falling for the playing dead thing, but he's beaten Kong to a pulp, and he's just at the point where he's like, is it really necessary? So he just, you know, looks at him really pissed off and then swims away. Cutting back to Team G, the crew explores the remnants of the Apex facility that was destroyed in the beginning of the film, looking for answers. However, that mysterious piece of tech is missing now. The team descends down this Apex elevator, going down 33 sublevels into this No Man's Sky space station looking ass facility. They enter into one of these shipping containers, finding themselves face to face with multiple skullcrawler eggs. The container is then lifted up and taken off to Hong Kong, the opposite side of the planet, by nothing but gravity. Seriously, it like blows my mind, the jump in technological advancement from Godzilla 2014 to Godzilla vs. Kong. Like, it's insane. Back to Team Kong, the team decided to counter Godzilla by lifting Godzilla into the air with a giant net and a bunch of helicopters. These are like the helicopters from Pacific Rim, bro. Kong is then set down, however, and awakens in the snow of Antarctica. This is a hollow Earth launch point where Kong will guide his crew into his species' native habitat. I think the CGI here might actually be the best in the entire MonsterVerse. Like, holy shit. This looks so good. Gia directs Kong into the Hollow Earth portal, but initially Kong's like, no thank you. And you can tell he is freezing his ass off. Brother, I've been there. After telling Kong, hey, your cuz might be down there, he runs into the portal all excited as Monarch and Apex slowly follow behind. After entering a very trippy sci-fi ass portal, Kong and the crew find themselves free falling into the Hollow Earth. The heaves readjust just in time before they impact with the ground, while Kong has a much less graceful fall. Hollow Earth is then shown in all of its trippy sci-fi fantasy glory, with some absolutely beautiful sweeping shots, before the Warbats appear! These flying snake-like creatures that you cannot tell me are not a reference to the TriStar Godzilla animated series giant King Cobra. Kong then grabs one of the two, killing it by slamming its head into the ground and using it as a whip to smack the other one. However, the surviving Warbat gets Kong wrapped up and is beginning to suffocate him with his wing, and it seems he's got the upper hand before the heaves pop off a few missiles, giving Kong just enough time to absolutely brutalize this poor guy to death. Like, oh my god. And afterwards, eating his internal organs, specifically from his head, presumably his brain. What a way to go out. Kong mobilizes, and we are introduced to the GOAT of the MonsterVerse, Titanus Doug! I so can't wait to see what he does in GXK. I'm at the most expecting him to show up and then go, oh, that's Doug. But it would be great if he like secretly had just a little less screen time than Zuko. That would be nice. Kong ascends this mountain before jumping into a hollow earth gravity inversion field, showing the hollow earth is just very strange. Team G then arrives in Hong Kong, entering the Apex facility, and then they enter this big ass chamber. Lights turn on and alarms sound off as the floor opens, revealing the true villain of Godzilla vs. Kong. My boy, my goat, Mechagodzilla. Ren Serizawa pilots Godzilla's mechanized mirror, insane considering his father's relationship to the G-Man. Like switching up on your unk, that's kind of crazy. Walter releases a big red skull crawler into the facility. Team G almost getting eaten alive before Mechagodzilla just snatches it mid-air. He basically Ghidorahs him, spreading him out into a T-pose, and using his proton scream, which is his equivalent to the heat ray, slicing him down the middle. Disgraceful. And what is crazy and terrifying is that this isn't even Mechagodzilla at half power. Team G was right though. Godzilla was tweaking because of Apex. Mecha's activation alerts G-Man, showing his redirect to Hong Kong, which also gets Monarch's attention. Back in Agartha, we see Kong come face to face with the doors of an ancient Kong temple, where his species once claimed as their palace. Seriously though, the visuals and like the environmental storytelling here is just top notch. Kong then finds his now iconic bone axe lodged into the skull of a rather big titan. I don't even know if Shimo's head is going to be that big. Pulling the axe out and letting off a victorious roar. The heaves land as Kong sits in this throne looking all kingly, as he should. Cutting back to Team G, they enter the control room of Mechagodzilla, revealing the true pilot of the mechanized mirror. It's Kevin! It's Ghidorah. This makes everything make sense. Godzilla believes that his arch nemesis is alive and breathing, and we all know how much of a problem Ghidorah is, so to reincarnate him in robotic form is not great. As Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong above, Kong's axe begins to glow with the same radioactive blue as Godzilla's spines, revealing it can actually draw radiation from the hollow earth as he places it into this weird little notch on the floor, which also then reveals this Godzilla-shaped rune, which looks like something straight out of God of War Ragnarok. This pisses Godzilla off so bad that we possibly get one of his strongest feats in the entire MonsterVerse. Like, this is insane. He charges up so much that you can see the light shine through his skin, like all over his body, not just his spines, like in his legs and like his belly, shooting his beam into the ground, straight into where Kong and the crew are in the hollow earth. Seriously, this movie has some stupid ass moments, but it's so badass, I do not care. Maya's cute ass then deploys a drone to extract a sample from the hollow earth, revealing Apex's true intentions to Monarch. The drones analyze the sample as they download the energy signature, allowing Apex to recreate it. Wi-Fi electricity, nice. Kong gets pissed at Apex as they point their guns at the Monarch crew, which includes Gia, before the ugly ass Hellhawks descend from the ceiling. These look much less like MonsterVerse creatures and more like SCP-3199 with wings. Let me know if you want me to do some SCP content, since those are technically monsters and there are multiple kaiju in the SCP universe. Godzilla's beam drills through as he looks down the hole, roaring at Kong. Kong trading a roar right back to him because he's just that guy. Maya tries to escape in a heave before Kong grabs it, looking into it going, nuh-uh, just crushing it in his hand. Sorry, pretty privilege only gets you so far, I'm sorry. Grabbing the axe, Kong jumps down the hole, the surviving members of Team G following closely. Kong then emerges into the city, thanks to gravity inversion, coming face to face with Godzilla in an absolutely beautiful neon lit battle. We also get a reference to the Showa King Kong vs. Godzilla, where he shoves his axe, which in the old movie was a tree, down Godzilla's throat. As a Showa enjoyer, and I know Adam Wingard himself said he loves the Showa era, I really appreciate him for going the extra mile for adding that in there. Really appreciate that. Godzilla and Kong duke it out until he smacks Godzilla in the head with a charged up axe, Lin deciding that this round goes to Kong. Oh boy, how wrong you are, how wrong you are. After a brief cutaway where Team G is captured by Apex, Godzilla gets right back up, and after Kong jumps him, he says, I'm done playing, going on all fours and just showing who truly was going to win the fight all along. I love Kong, but I'm sorry. Godzilla stomps on Kong's chest. Man, he loves to do that, doesn't he? I wonder if he'll do that to Shimo. Kind of freaky. But anyways, he gets up in Kong's face, roars, essentially screaming in his face, "Submit!" Kong is that guy though, and roars back, "Hell no!" Godzilla stands up, appalled, looking at him like, I respect it. You're gonna die anyway. You still dead as hell, but I respect it. Leaving Kong to die, as after he roars at him, he lays unconscious. We cut back to Team G and Walt as they prepare Mechagodzilla for deployment, but something goes wrong. Kevin takes control. He is seen sneaking up on Walter. I can't believe that MonsterVerse Ghidorah is that much of a hater, that to a little human that ain't gonna do shit to him, he sneaks up on him just to smack him out of existence. I love it. I love it so much. After smacking Walt out of existence, his circuits overload, presumably frying Ren to death. Now, we don't see his body, so you know the rule. If you don't see the body, are they really dead? Mechagodzilla then emerges into the city, locking eyes with Godzilla. Wingard just expertly portrays Godzilla's just mental state here in one of my favorite shots of Godzilla ever, as he sits there huffing and puffing, clearly so pissed off but also panicking, realizing, I gotta deal with Ghidorah again, and this time he's a Terminator. Godzilla charges at Mecha, but sadly, he's outmatched. Mechagodzilla is far more agile, and Godzilla is already tired out, not only from, dealing with Kong, but dealing with everything that has happened since the end of King of the Monsters. I forget which comic said it, but I'm like 99% sure that since Ghidorah woke everyone up, Godzilla hasn't been asleep. Like, I'm actually being dead ass. He hasn't slept in 5 years at that point. After realizing that Kong's heartbeat is slowing down, Team Kong decides to overcharge the heave, basically making it a giant Titan defibrillator. I can't pronounce that word. We then cut back to Mecha just disrespecting Godzilla, slinging him around like a toy. It is insane. I would have loved to see this fight with both a full-powered Godzilla and a Mechagodzilla that does not get intervened with alcohol. We'll get to that. Godzilla rises up, clashing beams with Mechagodzilla before being overpowered, getting a nasty burn on his chest. After detonating the heave, Kong comes to. He's barely escaped the claws of death, and now he must unite with Godzilla to take on Mechagodzilla. Cutting back to Godzilla, we see that Mechagodzilla is about to kiss death this boy. He's about to use his signature move on him. But Mecha is interrupted when Kong jumps on top of him, redirecting his beam into the sky. Finally, the two Alpha Titans come together! After some absolutely excellent teamwork, Kong is about to get a drill tail to the face before Fire Fist spills burning special alk all over the console, causing Mecha to short out. Is the MonsterVerse pro alcohol? This is this movie's human diversion, giving Godzilla enough time to get a beam shot off on Kong's axe, charging it to the point that Kong slices through Mecha like butter. Mechagodzilla lays there in pieces, about to fire off a proton scream, before Kong just brutalizes the man, taking his head off. As a primarily Godzilla fan, am I pissed that Mechagodzilla was killed by Kong rather than Godzilla in the MonsterVerse? You know, yeah, especially considering he's my favorite Godzilla antagonist. But at the same time, it was so cool seeing them finally work together for the first time that I don't give a shit, honestly. All the humans are together chilling before Godzilla roars at Kong, grabbing everyone's attention. Kong roars back before dropping his axe, and Godzilla's like, alright, you cool for now, and leaves the premises. Team Godzilla and Kong have their one interaction. I don't even think they like speak to each other. Before we cut down to what was originally supposed to be the end credits scene with Monarch down in the Hollow Earth. They're down there with Kong as he swings around in his new home. And that's a wrap. Let's review it. So, I think the biggest flaw with this film is it's too short, and I'm worried about GXK having the same problem, especially considering it's like 2 minutes longer. The movie has just enough time to make the plot work, but it's so breakneck paced, you have like no time for anything to happen, really. Like, we're down in the Hollow Earth for like a little bit, and then we come back, and then yeah, it's all over the place. Very obviously, a lot of stuff was left on the cutting room floor with this movie, and I feel that, you know, if this movie had an extra 30 minutes, I'm going to say, I think like 2 hours and 25 minutes would be perfect. I think that would allow Team Kong and Team Godzilla to have a little bit more time in the story to breathe, actually, you know, justifying the fact that there are two sides to the plot. Even though his time on screen is just absolutely impeccable, my boy Mechagodzilla was underused, man. I think in total he had like 5 minutes of screen time in the entire movie, bro. I get that they wanted the fact that he was in the movie to be a secret reveal like halfway through, but like, man, once again, I feel like this is at fault of the movie being too short. You know, I think it would be really awesome if all the Titans that you see deceased from the opening credits, they have this subplot going on with, and maybe this could be Godzilla's little subplot, that all these Titans are being killed, and it's like signs that Godzilla would do it, but Godzilla's not in the location at the time that it happens. And then, you know, come to find out, it's been Apex testing Mechagodzilla out in the Hollow Earth. I feel like that would have been really cool. Junkie XL's score isn't bad, and I wouldn't say it's ass like a lot of people would, but it is nowhere near as standout as Bear McCreary's score, not in the slightest. I definitely like it more than Godzilla 2014's score. I don't know if I do more than Kong Skull Island's. There are some good tracks, but, you know. The two human teams idea is just not explored enough at all. Team Kong gets like 75% of the movie, while Team Godzilla gets like 25%. And like I said, they only have one interaction ever, and I feel like that's a huge missed opportunity. Like, imagine these two opposing sides that are trying to work to help each of their Titans, they come together and realize, oh, we're basically working against each other. I feel like that could have been also a very interesting plot point that should have been explored. And a lot of the human cast in general is just very forgettable, aside from a few standouts. Ren Serizawa was just so horribly underutilized. But then again, we also never see his body, so, you know, that does, I guess, leave the door open for him to return. I just feel like, you know, with that being Serizawa's son, who was like basically that guy at Monarch, I feel like, you know, there would be a lot more tension between him building Mechagodzilla and, you know, Monarch, their thoughts on it, since, you know, Apex and Monarch are partnered in this movie. The Hollow Earth does also seem kind of desolate and dead in this movie, being very underutilized. But this is basically the opposite of how it looks in Godzilla Kong the New Empire, so my theory is just they went to a very desolate region and there were only a few creatures there. It also feels like Godzilla really didn't have much to do in the story, to be honest with you. Considering the film is called Godzilla vs. Kong and his villain Mechagodzilla's in it, I get the point of it is for Godzilla and Kong to fight, but you know, man. And then Mark Russell is not only underutilized in this movie, but he kind of pulls a Doctor Strange from the later MCU movies and basically goes back to being the character he was before his character arc in that movie, which kind of sucks. I hate when people write their characters to go right back to the way they were after they've went through so much development. I don't know why people do that. That's pretty much all my problems with it. Let's go into what I love about this movie. First and foremost, the CGI in this movie, oh my god. I'm 99% sure it might be the most consistent of all four of the movies. Now I know someone's gonna sound off Godzilla 2014. And look, like I said, I like Godzilla 2014. I've grown to like it again, but like, brother, yes, the CGI is consistent. It's because you can't see the CGI. But seriously though, like, the shots that don't look as good in this movie, mainly like a couple of the shots with Godzilla, they still look just god tier. Like, it's insane how good they look. The standouts of Godzilla vs. Kong for me in the human cast have got to be Kaylee Hoddle and Brian Tyree Henry. I think these two brought a lot to the human cast that was really lacking for the rest of the movie. But when it comes to the monsters, however, Kong absolutely just steals the show. I mean, obviously, like, the movie is very Kong-centric, but he has just been given so much more personality than past iterations of Kong, and it's just such a great time watching him on screen, man. For the, like, 5 minutes that he is on screen, Mechagodzilla just, oh my god, bro. And his design is god tier. It is, like, top 3 Mechagodzilla designs for me, which is crazy because when the design leaked with the Playmates figure, like I think a whole year before the movie came out, I hated it. I thought it was ugly. It's basically the same thing that happened when everyone on the internet saw the pictures of Playmates Godzilla Evolved. I think we just gotta stop looking at the Playmates figures and thinking that's what they're actually gonna look like in the movie. Speaking of designs, the creature design in this film is just impeccable. Excluding the Hellhawks. I think the Hellhawks are ugly as hell, but they're in like one scene, so I can't really hold it against the movie. Cinematography for me is tied with King of the Monsters for the best in the MonsterVerse, giving us some absolutely amazing and creative shots with the kaiju while also, you know, allowing us to see the action, like what's going on, like giving us enough breathing room and shots. The color palette of this film is just perfect. Perfect. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. It is absolutely the most beautiful of the 4 films visually, and the visuals are not ruined by things being shrouded in darkness or having a big blue filter slapped over it. To me, just visually, it absolutely slaps the hell out of the other 2 Godzilla movies, and, you know, Kong Skull Island, I think, is visually really nice looking. They do kind of overdo it with some of the color at some points in that movie, so, you know, I think Godzilla vs. Kong found the perfect balance of it all. This is kind of a meme positive, but this movie gave us Doug, dude. We love Doug. Doug is the best. Doug is the GOAT. Love him. The good songs in the soundtrack are actually really good. I wouldn't say they're better than anything from King of the Monsters, but they're not bad at all. I especially love that that theme that plays when G is on the boat with Kong. I think that's probably the best one. Really, the only one that I despise is Junkie's dollar store Godzilla theme. And above all, they found a way to make these two fight again in a way that I think was definitely better than the Showa version, but also found a way to make them team up and fight against a common threat without making that suck and actually making the movie feel satisfying. For as short and breakneck paced as this movie is, I will say that it is not only satisfying in as a movie of itself, but as a conclusion to the MonsterVerse, well, at least the first chapter, but you get what I'm saying. Alright, that pretty much sums up everything I liked about the movie. Let's rate it. So before I drop my rating, I want to explain how in the hell did I watch this movie 33 times. It's really a simple story. Basically, Godzilla vs. Kong was on HBO Max for exactly 31 days, a month, something like that. I'm pretty sure it was 31 days. It may have been 30. But anyways, I squeezed in about a watch a day. I think I hit 29 or exactly 30 before it went off HBO Max. Because, I mean, what else did I have to do in the middle of the pandemic except watch Godzilla vs. Kong? And after the 30 times watching this movie, I wanted to buy it on Steelbook, which, thanks to Godzilla King of the Monsters, I've become absolutely obsessed with Steelbooks. I have the entire Transformers franchise on Steelbook collection, at least the movies. But after that first month of just watching the movie every day, I've seen the movie a grand total of 3 times since then. I rewatched it once I got the Steelbook. I also watched it and Transformers Rise of the Beast outside on a projector before ultimately returning it. And then obviously rewatched it for this video. So needless to say, I really like Godzilla vs. Kong. I think it's a pretty good movie. Therefore, I am going to give Godzilla vs. Kong an 8 out of 10. The only thing that's changed since release really is I definitely like King of the Monsters a little more than this movie now. But that's also because when this came out, I was like, King of the Monsters sucks. Slap the hell out of younger me. And with that, we have come to the conclusion of MonsterVerse Chapter 1, Phase 1, whatever they're going to call these chunks of storytelling. Act 1. This is not the final episode of MonsterVerse Madness, however, as I very obviously am going to review the new Empire this weekend once I go watch it. Also do plan on covering Monarch and the Skull Island show. Those are just going to have to be after the new Empire comes out. I'll call them bonus episodes, I guess. And besides, this whole deal was really to look back at the movie specifically because those shows wouldn't exist without these movies. As a Godzilla fan, man, I don't know how anyone couldn't enjoy the MonsterVerse at least a little. I get it's not for everyone, and I get that there's some things that they've done that pisses off some Godzilla fans, but I see that Legendary actually truly wants to listen and like actually try and make entertaining Godzilla content. They don't just rush these out every year like Disney does. They've made Marvel and Star Wars both not special because of that. Like this period right now is the most Godzilla content we've ever got within the span of the year, and I kind of hope that this is the most that we get within a year. I don't want them just pumping out so many Godzilla projects that it just becomes kind of I get that's ironic considering there's, you know, like 40 movies now, or closing in on 40 movies. I forget how many there truly are. I'll put the number up on screen. But I feel that despite the fact that there are a ton of Godzilla movies, like I just said, all of them offer at least some kind of value. Except for the anime trilogy. We can live without those. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all the love on this channel, even though, you know, we really just started out. Just like I'm sure you all watching this are, I'm just so proud to be a fan right now with, you know, Godzilla just won an Oscar and us getting ready to get this absolutely bonkers new movie coming out. As always, if you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, leave a comment, let me know your thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong, and also let me know your hype levels for Godzilla Kong the New Empire, because I know mine is through the roof. And if you want to see more kaiju content, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and follow me on Instagram because, you know, 9 times out of 10, that notification bell don't do shit. Speaking of Instagram, follow me on both Instagram and TikTok for, you know, updates on that content. As always, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you all that have watched all 4 of these videos. I am just barely being able to get these out because of my schedule with, you know, college and all that stuff. So, you know, I'm a little stressed out right now, but you know, we're about to party. We're about to party. As always, thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next episode of MonsterVerse Madness, where we will be covering the movie which we have all been waiting for 3 years, GXK. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see y'all. Peace.